If they'd let me finish one sentence, they would have locked in a $70 million system and saved their company. Instead, they cut me off, smiled like I was clueless, and said no. What they didn't realize? I was the system they were rejecting. Before the story gets ugly, and trust me, it does, hit subscribe, because stories like this don't come from textbooks, they come from real scars. They didn't fire me. They didn't yell. They didn't even argue. They smiled. That was the part that should have scared me sooner. My name is Lena Hart, and for 7 years I worked inside a logistics tech company called Atlas Grid Solutions, the kind of place that loved buzzwords, hated silence, and mistook confidence for competence. To them, I was background noise. To their systems, I was oxygen. Atlas managed supply chain software for regional retailers, inventory forecasting, routing optimization, loss prevention. Nothing sexy, nothing flashy, but it ran quietly under the surface of hundreds of businesses. And it ran because I made it run. I wasn't flashy. I didn't talk over people in meetings. I didn't slap slides together with stock photos and bold mission statements. I sat in server logs at 2 a.m. fixing things nobody knew were broken. I built a predictive engine that tracked micro failures in shipping routes, weather delays, vendor lag, warehouse staffing dips, and adjusted allocations before damage showed up on spreadsheets. It wasn't official. It wasn't approved. It wasn't assigned. It was necessary. I called it Helix. Helix wasn't a feature. It was an internal nervous system. Quiet, adaptive, ruthless in efficiency. Over 3 years, I threaded it through Atlas's infrastructure like veins under skin. No one upstairs asked how dashboards suddenly stopped breaking. No one asked why churn dropped. No one asked why emergency patches disappeared. They just took credit. The meeting that ended everything was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, corporate's favorite time to pretend listening while mentally clocked out. Conference room 9A. Glass walls, artificial confidence, cold coffee. At the table, Grant Hollister, CEO, former consultant, permanent smirk. Paulin Mox, OCO, loud, sharp, allergic to nuance. Evan Reese, CFO, new hire, spreadsheet guy, zero domain knowledge. I stood. No slides, no theatrics, just facts. I've identified a scalable optimization system that could be productized, I began. Based on internal performance data, it could generate roughly $70 million in enterprise contracts within 18 months. Grant raised an eyebrow. Paula crossed her arms. Evan leaned back. That was my first red flag. I'm listening, Grant said, which meant he wasn't. It's already running internally, I continued. It's reduced fulfillment errors by 42% and cut response lag across our clients' networks. With proper resourcing. Paula cut me off. Lena, is this another internal tool? It's more than that. It's modular. It learns from... Evan laughed. Not loud. Worse. Dismissive. Let me stop you there, he said. We're not in the business of selling side projects. Side projects. I felt something settle in my chest. Not anger. Recognition. This isn't a side project. It's the backbone of half our performance metrics. I built it because the existing system couldn't scale. Grant leaned forward. Okay, but why now? Because you're about to lose 3 major clients, I thought. Because your competitors are circling. Because I'm tired. Instead, I said, because if we don't formalize it, we'll never own it properly. Own it? Evan smirked. Yes, I'd like to propose a licensing structure. Helix becomes a standalone system, and I lead the rollout. Silence. Then Paula shook her head. You're a developer, Lena, not product leadership. Grant nodded like that settled it. Evan sealed it. And let's be clear, anything you've built here already belongs to Atlas. That was the moment. Not because they were wrong, but because they were certain. I closed my notebook. Slowly. Understood, I said. Grant smiled. Good initiative, though, really. I walked out with my badge still active, my job intact, and my loyalty gone. That night, I didn't rage, I didn't vent, I didn't post anything dramatic. I opened my laptop and reviewed timelines. Helix had roots going back before Atlas, conceptual models, private repos, personal hardware. I'd been careful without knowing why. By Sunday, Hart Systems LLC existed. Monday morning, I showed up early, like always. Same hoodie, same desk, same invisibility. But now, I was watching. Atlas ran on layers. They thought the visible layer, the UI, the reports, the dashboards, was the product. Helix lived underneath. I spent the next month being perfect. I documented, I assisted, I answered late-night pings, I helped Evan understand charts he pretended already to grasp. Meanwhile, every improvement request I implemented followed one rule. Functional, but shallow. The adaptability, the self-correcting logic, the anticipatory routing, that lived in my private architecture. Atlas didn't notice. They never noticed structure, only output. At night, my apartment turned into a command center. Whiteboards, legal notes, system maps. The first call I made was to Rhea Collins, a compliance consultant I'd worked with years ago. "Tell me you're finally done babysitting," she said. "I need regulatory pathways, fast." She didn't hesitate. "Send me what you've got." Next was Mark Ellison, a VC I'd once fixed a demo for when his portfolio company nearly imploded. He watched the Helix demo in silence. When it finished, he exhaled. "Why doesn't Atlas own this?" They said no. He laughed once, sharp. "Their funeral. How much runway do you need?" By the time Atlas announced a strategic optimization initiative led by Evan, I had funding, advisors, and a skeleton team. They paraded my work without understanding it. I watched Grant praise streamlined intelligence in town halls. I smiled, I nodded, I complied. Then I pulled away, cleanly. I requested a short leave. Family matters. Approved instantly. During that time, Helix became Vantage, stripped of legacy constraints, built clean, scalable, mean. By the time I returned, Atlas was struggling. Performance dipped, not catastrophically, just off. Evan blamed vendors, Paula blamed staffing, Grant blamed market conditions. They never blamed the missing intelligence. My resignation email was polite, boring, irreversible. Paula called me within 10 minutes. "This is sudden. It's time. What about your system? You said no." They tried everything after that. Raises, titles, advisory roles. Too late. Vantage launched quietly with a mid-sized distributor Atlas had been courting for years. Within weeks, word spread. Faster routing, lower loss, predictive corrections. 70 million in projected contracts within 6 months. Atlas felt it before they understood it. Clients paused renewals, engineers left, metrics slid. Grant finally called me. "Lena, we may have underestimated the situation." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "You said no," I replied. I listened. The lawsuit threats never materialized. Their lawyers knew what discovery would expose. Instead, Atlas downsized, rebranded, blamed leadership turnover. Evan disappeared first. Months later, I stood in Vantage's new office watching real-time data ripple across a system that finally had room to breathe. Rhea texted me, "You did it clean." Mark called it one of the quietest corporate collapses he'd ever seen. I didn't celebrate. I just built. Because the truth is simple and brutal. They didn't lose $70 million because they said no. They lost it because they never understood what they were saying no to. And by the time they tried to say yes, the system was already gone.